Welcome to Fast Keto. I'm your host, Ketogenic Girl. Did you know that you actually have the option to either be a sugar burner or a fat burner? It's called having a metabolic advantage, as Dr. Ben Beekman would put it. You can actually burn your own stored body fat for fuel. On this show, we talk about ketogenesis, fasting, biohacking, all with the goal of optimal body composition for longevity and having the highest possible quality of life. I hope you enjoy these interviews and solo casts that I present to you, all with this goal in mind. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fast Keto podcast. I'm thrilled to have a very special guest on today, Dr. Cecily Ann, who is also known as fastingworkgirl.com on Instagram. And Dr. Ann is an MD who has incorporated intermittent fasting and intermittent fasting strategies into her own health and works as an MD with fasting and intermittent fasting therapies. And we're going to dig into her story, how she found fasting and some Welcome, Cecily. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time. How are things going, and where are you coming to us from today?
Yes, thank you for having me. So I'm coming from Kansas City, Overland Park, which is right outside of Kansas City in the U.S.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you could be here with us today. And today we're going to talk all about intermittent fasting. I'd love to start out with anyone who may not be familiar with your work on sort of your background and what brought you as an MD to learn about intermittent fasting.
Yeah, so just a brief background about myself. I had kind of struggled with weight on and off probably since high school, if I can recall. And like many people, I would lose weight, I would gain it back, and this yo-yo thing here and there. And after the birth of my second son, I'd reached my highest weight. That was back in 2014. And I had gotten up to about 264 pounds, is what I remember the doctor's office saying. And so, after delivery, I was like, okay, I need to do something differently. But that doing something differently was basically still doing more of the same, which was kind of the calories in, calories out. So I did lose about 30 pounds doing that. And then again, kind of just would lose, bounce around. And so in 2017, it was in like a chat forum, someone was mentioning a book called The Obesity Code, and I figured it was really the only thing that I hadn't tried yet to date. And so reading that book, the science and just the explanation made sense to me. And so it really kind of encouraged me to give it a try, because at that point it made sense, still makes sense to me. And it didn't really involve me having to count calories all the time, which I was kind of tired of doing at that point.
That's so cool. What brought me to intermittent fasting is I love knowing what sparks people's interest and what gets them kind of into it. And I was actually getting my hair done at the hair salon, and there was some lifestyle magazine on the table, and there was something on the front that said the 5-2 fasting. And I was like, oh, this looks interesting. And it's you never know what is that spark, what is that book or that thing. And I love that for you it was Dr. Jason Fung's book, because he's done so much incredible work, helping people to know more about intermittent fasting. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no, his work is definitely incredible. And I like how, he was looking to help his patients further with disease reversal. And, he was doing kind of the standard treatment approach, and then stumbled on to intermittent fasting and really applied that. And so just seeing that and realizing there was an actual mechanism to it, it wasn't just well, someone told me to fast, like kind of understanding why this has the potential to work not only for weight loss, but in other conditions as well. I found that really fascinating.
Now, I love how you put on your bio that for so many years you wanted your body to be different and perform better, but you just kept making excuses. And I love some of the excuses you wrote out here, like celebrities have personal trainers, so and so is a trophy wife, it's her job to look good. Well, she doesn't have kids, so of course she lives in the gym. And it's so true. And I love that quote. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like, you can either have your excuses or the life that you want. You choose.
Right. Exactly. And I think a lot of times we do that. I mean, I'm no different than anyone else. I think it's human nature. We'll see someone with whatever it is, something that we want or something we don't have, and we kind of rationalize, well, this is why it's not realistic for me to have that. But at the end of the day, I do think good health and improvement in health in general is something that we can all have and we can all strive for. It's just that you have to find the right approach for you and not necessarily do something that's copycat or just because someone said do it or something that's not sustainable. I mean, I really think that's the key. You have to find what is sustainable for you.
Yeah, that's so true. And I really love how balanced your approach is. And I love some of the posts that, you've done, sort of about carbs or different things, like saying, well, carbs are not necessarily the devil. It's just like, let's talk about the right kind of carbs, like highly refined, processed, sugary carbs, and the difference between that and real carbs, and why that is hormonally. And, when it comes to fasting, what's kind of your approach with that, with yourself and then with some of your clients?
Yeah, so for myself personally, what I find works best for me is having sort of at least an 18-hour period of fasting, or flip it the other way, kind of a 6-hour eating window. Even during that eating window, I still try not to graze. I try to make sure to, and right, sometimes it will happen, but I would say more often than not, I have 2 discrete meals, and I make sure, for the most part, that they're very nutrient dense and nutritious. And so I find that works very well with me. I also exercise, but I like to stress to people that I exercise for more general health benefits, not necessarily for weight loss, because I've done that. I've fallen into that trap before. And, my fitness calculator will say, well, because I ran 3 miles, now I have 500 extra calories to eat. And so then I would, in the past, eat 500 calories extra and then wonder why I wasn't losing weight. So I like incorporating exercise just because I think there's lots of health benefits to exercise, but it's not necessarily with the goal that because I exercise today, that means now I'll have, a piece of cake because I exercised. And then obviously this is not medical advice, but I use that similar approach to people in the office. I try to see and work with them to say, like, what do you think is a reasonable fasting schedule to start out with? What do you actually think you're likely to do? Because I can tell people, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. But again, if for their job schedule, if whatever reason it's not feasible, we need to find something that is feasible. So some people will start off with kind of more of a circadian rhythm fast, which is fasting for 12 hours, sunset to sunrise. But even that initial change, especially if they're interested in changing their nutrition, can be helpful showing results, because night eating is a huge issue for a lot of people. And so even just breaking up that cycle initially and helping people build up longer periods of times is helpful. And sometimes it's less overwhelming.
I agree, and I've always had a 16-8 eating window sort of fasting approach in my program, in my meal plans, because I find that at night after dinner, it's the most important thing is just closing that eating window after your last meal, because it's after dinner that we eat the worst foods. Our willpower is the lowest, and no one's eating ice cream at breakfast. It's at night after dinner that we tend to have lower willpower and tend to eat things that are not nutritionally beneficial, and we're eating them out of habit or because we're relaxing, watching a show or something. And that's really when we make sometimes the worst food choices. Whereas in the morning, when your willpower is strong, you have the ability, to eat more nutritious foods throughout the day. And that, like you said, just that small change can have such a huge impact.
It really can. And the other thing is, you may have seen this post floating around social media, but it's a picture of a banana, and it's like they have the banana, and it's like the banana before 8 p.m. is 100 calories, let's just say, and then the banana after 8 p.m. is 1,000,000 calories. And so I'll see so many people say, that's false. And so what I would say is that actually there's truth to that too. Aside from like the willpower and we make poor choices at night, they've had studies that show you have greater insulin spikes when eating after dark than that same meal consumed during light hours. And that has to go with the biological clock, because when we were cavemen or whatever, back eons ago, life stopped for the day at night. Like when it was night, you were done. You went to sleep. We don't sleep as well as we should, right? We're chronically sleep deprived. That changes and has effects on stress hormones. We're eating large meals at 8, 9, 10 p.m. at night. Again, normally we would have been sleeping during that time. So the body also doesn't have, aside from willpower, the body also just doesn't process those things as well in the evening. So while the calories may be the same, your response to that meal is different. And so that's why, just again, even doing sunset to sunrise can be a huge benefit, especially if you're willing to cut out or at least decrease some of the processed refined carbohydrates, decreasing your consumption of sugary drinks, like diet pop or soda is, I don't know, it's the devil in terms of it gives you this false sense that you're doing something okay, and it's still, wreaking havoc with your insulin and things like that. So
I really like your approach and how, it's all about baby steps, because what I have seen for myself and so many people is that you take a little baby step and then you're like, wow, I feel really good. Like, I want more of this. And then you want to take another step and another step and another step. And pretty soon you've climbed the whole staircase. And it's just by taking these one step at a time, what's in front of you. But there's something so rewarding about making these changes, about the impact it can have on your health and your state and how good you feel, that you start to just want more and more of it, and you just want to eat better foods. And you can start at the beginning with small little changes, and maybe that little change for you is setting an eating window, and maybe it's going off diet soda, or just incorporating a little bit more movement, or whatever it is. You don't have to do everything all at once.
And I think that's key. And I mean, even what I've noticed in my health journey, and I always like to call it a journey, right? Because it's not that you reach a point and then you just stop everything. You have to continue to live a healthy lifestyle for the duration of your life if you want to be healthy. I mean, that's what I believe, and I think that's true for most people. But that was similar to me. So I started off with reading the Obesity Code. And the Obesity Code, for those who haven't read it, I would highly suggest reading that book. But a lot of the book is focused on why fasting works, different protocols, things like that. And Dr. Fung touches a bit about, refined carbohydrates and sugars and things like that. But after reading that book, I felt like, okay, but I need to know more, right? I need to know more about nutrition, because while I found fasting was very helpful for me, I also wanted to make sure that I was consuming the right types of food during my eating window. And so wanting to know more about nutrition, that led me to a book called Deep Nutrition, which talked about more of an ancestral approach to eating. And I found that very helpful. Again, that made sense to me. Consuming foods that my grandmother or my great grandmother would have eaten,
Mm-hmm.
it those are foods that our body knows what to do with versus things that are made in a lab. Our body's kind of like, well, wait, what is this? We haven't evolved yet to catch up with some of the ingredients on the back of the package yet that we can't say, pronounce, or spell. So I agree with you. I think, pick something to start with. And I think once you see that you're feeling better, it's human nature to want to know more. And I think that leads to curiosity and further research for most people.
That's true. That's so true. And I love just this idea of layering things, one thing at a time and building things. And, I was laughing the other night because I opened my fridge and I was like, if I was a little kid, I would run away screaming from this fridge right now because it's just full of like liver pate and sardines and chicken hearts and all these foods that would have never in a million years would I've eaten them as a child, but now I recognize that my body loves these foods. It thrives on these foods, and it's all the foods that I want now. But there was definitely a time when, just even contemplating eating these kinds of foods was not available to me. And it's just through layering things and, like you said, just one at a time, making these small changes, and you just feel better and better. And then same goes for exercise. I love that you brought that up because for a long time, I did exercise to lose weight. And now I do exercise because I have the energy for it. And it's something enjoyable. It's an enjoyable way of being in my body and using my body. And I had to take a break from it for a while. And then I felt so good from all this nutrient dense food and this lifestyle that I was like, oh, I want to do this just because it feels good. And like you said, for the other health benefits.
Right. Yes. And I think, again, in terms of the baby steps, I think sometimes we get overwhelmed. So we'll see, someone will tell us that we need to exercise more. And then it's where do we start? And walking, I mean, I like to emphasize that with people. Walking is a powerful exercise. And I think it doesn't get the attention because it doesn't look as cool as if you can flip a tire, 50 yards, which if you can do that, I think that's awesome. I'm not shamming that at all. But I'm just saying that if I am starting out at, 200, 300, 400 pounds, and people are kind of also saying, well, walking isn't enough, then what do you do? And you have to do something that feels good, something that is consistent. We've shown in terms of like the medical community through research has demonstrated that as little as 150 minutes of aerobic activity a week, meaning walking, has general health benefits. And so while you may not be able to afford a gym, you may not be able to afford a personal trainer, the gym may be in far proximity from your house that just getting in the car takes you 30 or 45 minutes to get to the gym. Those are all barriers for some people. But everyone has either a block they can walk around. If the block isn't in the safest area, there's a mall nearby. You can mall walk. When it's too hot in the summer to walk outside, you can go browse or don't browse, just walk up and down the mall. Many of our places of employment, there's stairs. There are, you can walk from point A to the end of the building at point B and do that several times. So it really is just getting creative and not thinking that exercise has to be some sort of mystical thing that only bodybuilders can participate in. There's lots of ways to exercise.
That's so true. Now, what else do you do in addition to your you mentioned you do an 18 by 6 hour eating window? Do you do any other
Mm-hmm.
form of fasting?
Yeah, so periodically I've done like 48-hour fast, water only fast, and that more is for kind of cell recycling. That's why I do it. What I'll see sometimes on different blogs or things like that is people are like, well, how much weight can I lose if I fast for, X amount of hours? And I try to, at least when I'm in the office setting, let people know like that's not the goal. Because during like a 24, 48-hour fast, you're going to lose a lot of water weight. And I'm not discounting losing water, but when you start eating again, you rehydrate and you're going to hold back on to some of that water. So you, I don't think it's a good perspective. That's just me personally to look at an extended fast as how much weight am I going to lose during this fast? You're either doing it because you're in a plateau and you're trying to bust through and, change your set point. Or maybe you've noticed that you have some aches and pains and you're trying to see if just a break from food and giving your body a chance to process, efficiently. Or maybe you're doing it for health prevention purposes. Maybe you're trying to tap into autophagy and decrease your risk of, neurodegenerative disease later on in life. I mean, there's so many other health applications to it that I don't know, to me, it really shouldn't be looked at as how much weight can I drop quickly, because that's not the point of it. And honestly, you're going to be disappointed in a week when you've regained some of that water weight back.
Now, with that goal of having optimal quality of life in mind, and I define quality of life by the absolute amount of joy that you feel experiencing life, I created something called the 20-Day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. It's the best product that I could possibly create in order to help as many people as possible try keto out for themselves, get into nutritional ketosis or ketogenesis, and become fat fueled. So that's why I created the 20-Day Challenge, and it's a program that comes with my meal plans, which are 4 weeks, about 28 days of meal plans. And in there you have shopping lists, full guide to getting into ketosis, testing for ketosis, which is optional if you want to do that. But the coolest thing about it is it also comes with my unlimited support and coaching. So I added this in after I had first created the program because I realized that so many of us have questions when we're starting out a brand new way of life, a new lifestyle. Not only do we have lots of questions, but we also need to have a lot of support. And so I created the 20-Day Challenge because we have a community in there of others who've done the program already, who've gone through it and love being there, love helping out and supporting other people who are joining. And then I'm also there answering your common questions, answering anything that comes to mind while you're trying this out. Do you want to substitute something in the meal plan for something else? Do you want to find a recipe for a certain specific event? Do you want to find what my recommendations would be for ordering off a menu at a certain restaurant? I'm there to help guide you. I know some of these are different kinds of requests, but I'm there to support you in any kind of question that you have doing keto. I love to provide explanations of how different processes work in the body, why ketogenesis works. I love to share any kind of insight and information that I can. And I'm there to be your guide, to be your support. Studies have shown that we get to our goals so much more easily and faster when we have a guide, when we have a friend, a coach, a support person keeping us accountable, keeping us motivated, excited. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm excited to help you get to your goals, get to your best health, because I have never been happier living and enjoying my life and being in my body. I've never had so much body confidence, so much strength, so much zest and excitement for life. And I love helping people experience that for themselves too. You can see dozens and dozens of success stories posted on my different feeds, on Instagram, on Ketogenic Girl. There's a section called Success Stories and Testimonials, and you can read through so many different successes that people have had doing the challenge. So I would love to have you join the challenge. Give it a try. There are other options too that can be added on and layered on during the program. I have my phase 2 higher protein plans if you're looking to build more muscle after you've started keto with the 28-day ones. I have build your day ones, no cook plans. I have vegetarian ones. I have all kinds of different versions and add-ons for later on if you decide that you are continuing at this. But what have you got to lose other than stored body fat? Use it for fuel. Optimize your health and your body composition today, and go check out the 28-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge at ketogenicgirl.com. Now, onto our show. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that glycogen binds to water and how heavy water is. And a lot of times when people see a big drop from doing fasting, it's often water. That also can happen on keto. And really, the best focus to have is, like you said, doing it for a bit of autophagy and for enhancing your body composition, and maybe focusing more on short-term strategies like just having a daily eating window a day or doing shorter fasts is something that's more sustainable and going to get you to your goals in the end, without kind of putting too much pressure on yourself to do like these extended fasts. And one of the things you and I also messaged about was, how there is a negative side. There are some drawbacks to doing too much fasting, and I don't think that that's really talked about enough. And I do worry about people who, see fasting as a great tool and intervention, but then maybe overdo it and don't realize that that can also stress the system and have some negative consequences.
Exactly. And I think that's the key is we're still learning about what the right balance is in terms of applying extended fast, especially if you're trying to do it in a therapeutic benefit, because I think we all throw out that term and it's a buzzword and we see it everywhere about autophagy, but it's such a complex process that we really don't know in terms of upregulating autophagy, how often should we be doing that in the form of an extended fast, right? I think a misconception that I've seen in terms of just discussions on autophagy are people kind of view it as this on and off switch, and it's really not. So there's baseline levels of autophagy in terms of just cell recycling, protein degradation, and all of that that's going on all the time. But the issue is that because we're always in a fed state, and when I say we, I'm going to say, I mean most people, right? You're not giving your body the chance to upregulate it. So if you are accumulating damaged proteins at a higher rate than what you're allowing your body to remove it, that is what the theory behind some diseases such as like Alzheimer's or other neurodegenerative diseases, etc. That's kind of what the premise is, or one of the premises right behind it. And so, like you said, having that period of fasting where you are going 16 hours, you are upregulating autophagy more than what you would be doing if you are constantly eating throughout the day, constantly eating at night, because you're not giving your cells a chance to have any sort of nutrient deprivation, for the inhibition of mTOR, etc., to then allow autophagy to begin. But how much of that do you need, especially if you're already doing a 16 or 18-hour daily window? Should you be doing that every month for 5 days, 12 months a year in terms of an extended fast? And I would say probably not, right? Because I also don't know that that mimics, again, getting back to a natural pattern of what we were doing before food became readily available for us. I don't know that we were doing that often all the time. Maybe there was a prolonged period before you found your next meal, but then maybe you got your next kill and you had plentiful meat for another 3 weeks. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that we have to be careful with that. Also, you don't want to stress your system, right? So if you're doing prolonged fast too frequently, that can alter the HPA axis, and especially, well, I guess it obviously can alter it in women and in men, but with women, you don't want to tap into potential stress to give you menstrual irregularities or things of that nature. So I do think it's definitely a balance between making sure that you're tapping into some of the preventative health benefits in terms of autophagy, but also making sure you're not stressing your system unnecessarily.
That's a great answer. And maybe for our listeners, you could explain a little bit more about the HPA axis and why some people might see changes in their menstrual cycle, from restricting carbs or doing kind of different interventions.
Yeah, so I think there's, a lot of different mechanisms in terms of like restricting carbs and what effect that could have on menstrual irregularities versus when you are in a prolonged stress state that your body's kind of like, whoa, this is too much. But just in brief, so we have the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and they coordinate with the rest of the body through various feedback mechanisms and signaling and take information from the periphery on regulating several different organ systems and functions. So in women, we often refer to it, and most people start hearing about this because of the interaction with the ovaries in terms of ovulation, regulating menstrual cycle, but also it plays a role in thyroid regulation as well, in terms of receiving feedback from your gut hormone, even your gut microbiome, in terms of whether you're gaining weight, losing weight, it's kind of the coordination center to the brain that then allows the brain to give stimulant and output on how bodily functions should or should not work. When we look at the menstrual cycle, normally what we consider, women will ovulate every month, and then if the egg is not fertilized, right, then you're not receiving the stimulus to maintain the lining of the uterus, and so then the lining of the uterus sheds, and that's where we get a menstrual cycle. Some people will note, especially if your cycles were kind of irregular to begin with, if you have an element of the insulin resistance that might be playing into the menstrual irregularity, when you start to either change your diet, sometimes people will say, oh, wait, now I feel like my cycles are more irregular or whatnot. But you just have to give your body time to kind of adjust to that new level of normal, in terms of decreasing your insulin and all of that. And at least people that I've come into contact with, that usually sorts themselves out within a couple of months, assuming they didn't have another issue going on, because sometimes people like to blame different changes on menstrual irregularities, and it may have just been a coincidence in the first place. But if you're increasing your nutrition and moving away from, again, a lot of processed foods and things like that, your body really should thrive on that, assuming there's not another issue. And so those menstrual irregularities should actually straighten out. Now, if you are stressing your system, though, to the point where your body doesn't think you are in a sufficient state for reproduction. I mean, the body's very smart. So if you're not healthy, again, assuming that there's not another workup, you've had it like a full workup and they're not finding, something pathologic going on as to why your cycles are irregular. But again, if you're stressing your body by fasting for such extended period of times that you're actually not repleting your nutrition, and so your body's like, okay, wait, this is not a time to reproduce a baby because I can't find meals to eat. That's a whole different story. But again, HPA axis will alter in a way so that you're not ovulating regularly because the body is sensing that maybe you're not ready to reproduce at that time. So it's very intricate and a fine balance, back and forth. But definitely keeping an eye on your menstrual cycle and tracking it and seeing how your lifestyle is affecting it can kind of clue you into whether or not you might be doing too much for your, personal balance.
Yeah, I think those are such a great explanation. But also, one thing I'd love to discuss with you too is that if we're doing, sort of lower carb strategies, and fasting is a lower carb strategy, obviously you're not taking in any carbs, but if someone is doing low carb or very low carb or keto and really focusing on nutrient dense foods and restricting carbohydrates quite a bit, there needs to be an adequate intake of really nutrient dense quality protein and a good amount of healthy fats. And I think that may be an issue. I hear a lot from women that they're losing their hair or they're losing their cycle sometimes. And I tend to think that's probably because they're not taking in enough protein and fat to compensate for that restriction in carbohydrate and sort of balance things out.
And it definitely is plausible because, again, food is not the enemy, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
what types of food are you eating that can become, right, our kind of Achilles heel. And so a thing I'll notice with people is, and I'm probably more liberal in this sense in terms of like, I really don't have people track calories honestly that much unless we're in a prolonged plateau. And then I'll say, okay, let's start tracking calories again and just see what's going on. But I notice a lot of people will try to do, 1,000 calorie diets, and sometimes even less on a chronic basis while they're going low carb and while they're fasting. Like that's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like your system
Mm-hmm.
needs nutrients. Like you said, your system needs building blocks. It's just about giving them the proper building blocks. And so, I mean, for myself, I really don't track calories. If I want a steak, I have a steak, and it might be a steak with broccoli on the side or, whatever. But I'll have that. And I'm not worried that the steak may be X amount of calories. I'm more focused on the fact that I'm craving steak and my body knows how to handle a steak. And so that's
Yeah.
sometimes what I think people are running into. The other thing I'd like to point out too is a lot of times, just like you said, people will say, I'm losing my hair on keto. I'm doing da, da. I like to point out that if you're losing weight rapidly, no matter what diet you're doing, they've all been associated with hair loss or
Mm-hmm.
different things like that. So a lot of times I think people like to blame a particular thing, like, oh, it's that keto that you're doing. Well, it's not necessarily the keto. Are you depriving yourself of nutrients? Are you not getting your B12 and your folate and your, zinc and all of these things, magnesium, because you have restricted yourself so much and then you're also fasting? That's probably the bigger issue. But
Yeah.
rapid weight loss in general, you can have hair loss, low calorie diets, you can have hair loss, meal replacement protein shake diets, you can have hair loss. So um, like you said, it's really about the nutrients that you're taking in.
Yeah, and I'd love to know more about how you personally ensure that you really nourish your body really deeply with nutrient dense foods when you are in that eating window.
So I try to make sure that kind of like how I split my plate. Half of it is usually protein, and then the other half is vegetables. And for me, that seems to work really well. If I have, oh goodness, we'll say chicken or, maybe shrimp, that would be bulk of my protein there. And then I'm fortunate enough, especially during gardening season, we have a huge garden in our backyard. So it's not it's not hard for me to make sauteed mustard greens. I do that very often, or sauteed collard greens or fresh salad, cucumbers, tomatoes, and that really fills up the other portion of my plate. So that to me works really well in terms of getting in nutrient dense foods during my eating window. So this has evolved over time because I used to drink a lot of bone broth during my fasting window. And I've kind of pulled back on that and I do more of a clean fast now, which is mainly either black coffee or water with lemon. And those are my fasting fluids most of the time. But during my eating window, instead of reaching for a snack, sometimes I'll drink a cup of bone broth. And I'm fortunate we live near a grass fed grass finished farm. So we buy a half a cow straight from the local farm every year. And so I have all the bones, all the organ meats, all of that. And so I can make my own bone broth. And so I've also noticed just incidentally that for me, I didn't really have any hair loss when I lost weight with intermittent fasting. And I do think that's partially because the food, I changed my diet and I was getting nutrient dense food. And then there's also great collagen in bone broth. And so I think just having that regularly in my system really helped prevent some of the adverse side effects people report with losing weight.
I love all of that and how you focus on nutrient density. And how would you kind of define your diet style?
So overall, I would consider myself lower carb because I try not to have refined carbohydrates. I was at a obesity medicine conference and there was a booth by the Keto Mojo. And so I ended up getting a ketone meter because I was just curious to see, like I said, I would try to do the premise of not necessarily that I had to have X amount of carbs a day or limit X amount of carbs a day, but I really just cut out all the processed stuff. And I found that with my intermittent fasting schedule and the fact that the carbs, the majority of the carbs that I eat come from plants, mainly vegetables, and then I treat fruit as desserts. I was in ketosis and it was like I wasn't even necessarily trying. And so I would find like whenever I tested, unless, I ate something that I know would throw me out of ketosis, I was in that state just naturally. And it was very easy to maintain with just fasting, giving myself a period of gut rest, and then not overloading on sugar. And I know sometimes people are very fixated on if you aren't at 20 grams of carbs or less a day, you can't be in ketosis. And I think that's where I like to just point out to people that everyone's has an individual body and you can be in ketosis at different levels, especially if you're active and you're incorporating intermittent fasting. It actually makes ketosis much easier to maintain, at least for myself personally.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Dr. Cecily, and thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing some of your great knowledge and experience with us. And it was a treat to get to geek out on fasting with you and intermittent fasting. And you really shared so much great information. And I really commend you for being open-minded and learning for yourself about these kinds of strategies so that you can help more people, in your practice and in your clinic. And where can people follow you and find more from you? You have such great posts and content, and it would be great for people to be able to follow you and your work.
Oh, thank you so much. So on Instagram, I usually do daily short posts about something fasting or health related. And so you can find me on Instagram at fasting work girl. So fasting spelled out, then work and girl, all one word. And that's on Instagram. And then I have a website where I write more detailed blog posts. And that is on basically the same name. It's www.fastingworkgirl.com. And then I'm also on Facebook by the same name. So yeah, that's where I tend to post things, and I have various Instagram live Q&A sessions that I do. So definitely, if you have just interested in learning more about fasting and just being open-minded, I would definitely encourage you to check it out.
Now, what are 3 tips you could leave our listeners with?
So 3 tips, I would say. 1, be open-minded. That is the biggest thing. Be open-minded to something different than what you've done in the past. 2, pick something that is realistic for you to start with. So don't compare your journey or where you're starting at with anyone else other than yourself. Don't get caught up that someone may be able to fast for 18 hours and you're hungry at 12 hours. Start with what you can and then lengthen from there. And 3, also, while everyone I know focuses on the scale, try to also focus and make equally as important other health goals, because research has shown that you can start to have improvement in chronic conditions with as little as 5 to 10% weight loss. And so while we'll see stories of people losing 50 to 100 to 200 pounds, start off with some other focuses as well, and really give yourself time and show yourself grace in this whole journey.
Oh, that's beautiful. I really love that. And I love those tips. Those are so helpful. Well, thank you so much for joining us and being here with us today. And we'll look forward to having you back on again in the future. So thank you so much, Dr. Ann.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. I think you're really showing people, too, that they can take their health into their own hands and really live optimally. So thank you as well.
Aw, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. So much.
Yes, no, you're doing great work. And I think people, just in general, I mean, I hate to say that. Obviously, I'm a physician, but I think they rely too much on the healthcare system to make them healthy. And, we're really a disease management system. We're not necessarily, I mean, we're shifting more, but we're not necessarily a health improvement system. We're putting out fires. And so I think it's important for people to realize that they can put out fires before they even begin with nutrition.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm so thankful that we have this system with people like you to put out those fires, because I don't know where we'd be without you. But I love that, the whole medical system is becoming more and more open to preventative medicine, and just what a crisis point we're kind of at, especially in North America, that it is kind of waking people up and opening them up to these new strategies and things. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be alive and being, in this space and everything.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much again for being here, and we will have you back on again in the future, and really appreciate your time being here with us today, Dr. Ann.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, so on this segment, we are speaking with a nationally recognized food and wine expert, Scott Jones. Scott is the head of content for a company called Emeals, which is America's leading meal planning service and meal kit alternative. He is responsible for the overall Emeals content strategy, and he gives leadership to the incredible team that they have there, which are all food experts. And they create their 15 different food style meal plans that range from clean eating all the way to keto. And Scott actually was formerly the executive editor of Southern Living, and he was there, I believe, for over a decade, and he oversaw all the food and entertaining content for the magazine. So today we're talking a little bit about how Emeals can help save time. One of the biggest struggles that we all deal with is figuring out what's for dinner for our families every day, and being able to not only save money in our budgets, but also save our time of planning what meals to do and going out and doing the shopping. All of that is so time consuming, and having some kind of meal planning service can save us money, not only in our wallets, but also save us time by saving us the trip to the grocery store. And it's such a stress relieving thing to know what's going to be for dinner. You don't even have to think about it. It's already done and planned for you, especially if you are wanting to be healthy and follow a specific sort of, lifestyle, such as low carb or paleo or keto. Emeals has all kinds of meal planning services, and they have this really handy app. So we're going to chat with Scott all about the app and how it works exactly, and how it can save you time and money with meal planning. And we're going to get into that discussion right now. Welcome, Scott. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today on Fast Keto.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, you have quite an interesting background, having been the executive editor of Southern Living. What was that like?
Well, that was a lot of fun, and as a magazine title, we reached about 13 million people each month. And so I had the opportunity to work with a large team of food writers and recipe developers and test kitchen professionals, to create recipes for this passionate group of readers. And the truth is that what I do now with our team here at Emeals is very much the same thing, except now we're doing it in a digital format. But it's a lot of the same elements that I drew on for inspiration when I was at Southern Living are now translated directly to what we do here at Emeals.
That's really cool. I think it's so interesting that you work there and that, you obviously must be really passionate about like food and wine and just, cuisine and entertaining and all that. So it's really cool that, that Emails has someone like that working on their team.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about your team of recipe developers and kind of how they all come together?
Sure, sure. So it's I get the opportunity, like at Southern Living now, again here at Emeals, to work with a group of really exceptional food pros. So we have a team of RDs, of recipe developers, of food stylists, photographers. I mean, it runs the gamut, and all of us have that focus of creating recipes and meals across our 15 different food styles that really meet the needs of all of our subscribers. So our team, they've worked at titles like Southern Living, Cooking Light, Food and Wine Magazine, tons of media experience, and again, all of it focused on kind of food and wine and entertaining, and creating recipes that real cooks and real homes can use to make their lives simpler.
Yeah, I love that. Well, maybe tell us a little bit about how the app works exactly.
Sure. So uh, as a subscriber, the vast majority of our subscribers get their weekly meal plans through our free mobile app. That is, we have one for iOS and one for Android. And what our team does is they create each week new meals. So they're curated around whatever a person's food style might be or health goal. And then those recipes each week are delivered through the mobile app to the users. And what comes along with that is also a shopping list that's curated to match the recipes. And then from there, the subscribers have the option of shopping for those meals themselves in the grocery store, or with just a quick click of the button, they can pass that shopping list through to one of our integrated pickup or delivery partners to either pick up the groceries or have those groceries delivered to their front door. And it's not just the groceries that week. Our shopping list is created as such that in addition to having all the meals that they've selected that week, they can add things like household goods, beauty products, stuff for lunch, stuff for breakfast. So they can really use our shopping list to create one shopping trip versus multiple shopping trips throughout the week.
And what is the food like, and what are the recipes like? Are they more simple or complicated, or can anyone with any cooking background, find them accessible?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say we have a range of food styles, right? So we have a plan if you're on a keto diet. We have a plan if you're diabetic. We have a plan if you are eating paleo or low carb, it runs the gamut. So all of our recipes based within the context of that food style are created to be simple and approachable, short list of ingredients, short prep and cook times. I mean, it's really all about answering that question, which we know these busy moms and dads have, which is what's for dinner tonight. So we always want people to be able to, open up that app, see that recipe and say, I can make this tonight. So we really work hard. And that's what I think I'm most proud of about what our team is able to do, which is to take all of that expert knowledge and passion for food and cooking and be able to translate that into recipes that are full of flavor, but also really easy to make and, around flavors that the entire family loves. So, it's not just, oh, mom and dad are on this plan and we have to cook something else for the kids. All of our recipes are really designed to be enjoyed by the entire family. So it encourages that, family dinner time.
That sounds amazing. Now, having
worked in this space for so long, what are some tips that you might have for busy moms and dads who, just want to save time, but they also want to eat healthy and, provide healthy food for their families in a simple way? Like, do you have any quick tips that you've kind of found helpful for people?
Yeah, I would say that, and this is also based on our subscriber feedback. So it's not just me saying this; it's what we know our subscribers are saying as well. And it really starts with having a plan. It's like anything
Mm.
else in life, whether you're going to run a 5K or climb a mountain or try and prepare dinner for your family. Um, you got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you don't have, you're headed in all sorts of different directions. So, not only is that what Emeals does, but it helps encourage that um, making sure you're making the right decisions. You're not overbuying or you're not impulse buying. You have a plan, and also getting the entire family to participate. So it's not just, if you have children who are able to kind of help with the grocery shopping, or, a spouse is able to run by and pick something up or help with the cooking, getting the entire family involved is also something that I think we found through hearing a lot of really positive subscriber feedback is that something that helps encourage that family mealtime. But it really all starts with having a plan.
Yeah, I just love how technology can really help simplify our lives in so many ways, and that you guys have this format as an app because, it's really a way of leveraging technology just to make all of this process so much
Yeah,
simpler, and I think it's so cool. And then maybe tell us a little bit about how the app works, like what someone could expect from using it.
sure. Well, the magic really happens. The functionality happens within the app, and of course, you don't have to use the app. You can use it from a web-based perspective, but really the emails as a product comes to life when a subscriber is accessing it through the mobile app, because there they see the beautiful images that come along with the recipes. They have the
Mm.
ability to pick recipes from all of the different food styles. So when a subscriber comes in, they either subscribe for 3 months or for 12 months. Most of our subscribers select 12 months, but once they come in, they will kind of pick a primary food style. But let's say that you pick the ketogenic diet. You're in, let's say that someone else in your house is maybe not fully ketogenic, but they want low carb recipes. Well, you're
Mhm.
not just you don't have walls up that doesn't, you're able to pick recipes from other food styles. So you could say pick 4 ketogenic recipes from your meal plan one week, and then bop over to low carb and pull in a couple of recipes from low carb. You might even pull in a couple of recipes from paleo, for example. So
Mhm.
you're able to access recipes from the entire ecosystem, Emeals ecosystem. And then once you've created that meal plan, you can favorite recipes. You can share recipes with family and friends from the mobile app. You obviously, through the mobile app, have the ability to use one of our integrated grocery pickup and delivery partners. So it's really a dynamic experience. And I hate to use a big fancy word, phrase like behavior modification, but just like any other mobile app, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, once you start playing around in it, you see all of these features that are available, and that same experience exists with Emeals. It's more than just these are the meals I'm having for the week. There's so many more things that it can do to really relieve a lot of that stress and anxiety for busy families that are trying to make dinner for their families. And we also just, you know, worth the discussion is we also create recipes around breakfast, lunch. We do an occasions plan for all sorts of holiday themes, party themes. So we if someone has an interest in recipes and needs some help getting it together, Emeals can help them with that.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming that anyone at any kind of level of experience in the kitchen could find these approachable?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if anything, we really want this to be completely accessible to the new cook. That's really, we know that longtime cooks are going to have great success with the recipes, but we really have the new and busy cook in mind when we're developing all these recipes. It's not to say that the flavor profiles aren't, wonderful. It's just that when we think about how much time, length of the recipe, again, prep time, cook time, and the ease of making the recipe, we really have that new cook in mind.
How awesome that you have it for special occasions too, and for other meals in the day. Because I was going to ask you, with your background in entertaining, is there an option for people to, if they are going to throw an event or something, to have some
Yeah.
kind of entertaining in there? And that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we have, again, whether it's a kid's birthday party, it could be a girls' night out, it could be Thanksgiving, 4th of July. It can be, we have an entire library of recipes for under our occasions plan, is what it's called. And when a person subscribes to the occasions plan, it immediately unlocks that entire library. They have immediate access to everything. And we have food and wine pairing menus in there. And again, we think about it as an entire experience of food and wine and entertaining in those occasions plans, where we know that that's part of the overall experience.
And that's so great. How do you guys compare? There's a lot of different, services out there. I know you guys do meal planning service, but there's a lot of kind of meal kits and things. I know you guys are an alternative to that. So
Mm-hmm.
how would you compare yourself to some other well-known companies that offer similar services?
Sure. So, I think most people want to understand how we are different from traditional meal kits.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, traditional meal kits do what we do, which is they help solve that dinner time, what's for supper, that stress and anxiety. But what we do that's different is um, we with a traditional meal kit, you have very limited selection of what you can get, and it's usually tailored for a family, but a smaller family, and you still have additional trips for other items, whether it's snacks or grocery, lunch, dinner, or breakfast rather. And then what we do as it relates to Emeals is, so we have a team that's curating those weekly meals for you, doing all of that hard work. And then with our grocery partners, so you can, that integrated grocery pickup and delivery, you can still have those groceries delivered on the front door, on your front door, just like a meal kit, except that when your grocery arrives, you get the whole onion instead of a little bag with the pre-chopped onion. So you have to do a little bit more prep work with what you get with Emeals, but what you get with Emeals is a product that's half the cost, literally, and that includes the grocery spend. It's literally half the cost with 10 times the variety, because we have 15, 16 different food styles that you can choose from. And you're still saving money and saving time. So we're able to partner with the existing grocery supply chain. Basically, think of the big, the Walmarts, Kroger, Albertsons, the big grocery stores, Instacart, Amazon Fresh, um, all of these delivery services. We're able to leverage our platform with these partners to create an experience that's really end to end, just like a meal kit would be, except we do it at a much cheaper cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think I personally would just prep the food myself if it meant saving, half the cost of having someone else prep it. It just depends on, I guess how much time you have to do it. But how much does it actually cost for someone to subscribe and use your service?
Sure. Well, for a 12-month subscription, it's about $5 a month.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah,
That's very budget friendly.
absolutely. And again, you get unlimited access to all of the food styles. You are able to favorite recipes, so you're kind of building out a recipe box, if you will, of things that you can go to over and over again. You get these unlimited additional streams of recipes. So it's really a great value, and you're able to really customize the way that you and your family eat, and you have a lot of control over that. You know, it, again, if we think about meal kits. I mean, if live in a big city, and maybe you're, just either you're by yourself or just a household of two, you might be eating out a lot more. But for most families, the idea of having to get a meal kit delivered to their house 3, 4, 5 nights a week is just not really practical.
Mm.
The serving sizes can sometimes be small. The expense can be, pretty. It can get pretty expensive when you think about, getting that meal kit delivered on, in the kind of cadence that allows you to be eating at home most nights. And we know that with Emeals, you have options to eat at home every night, though we know that most of our subscribers are eating at home 4 to 5 nights a week. You still have a lot more control over what you're eating, how you're eating it, and obviously the budget and time savings are still there as well.
Yeah, I just think it's such an advantage that Emeals has someone with your culinary expertise and background, that's really exciting to know that the recipes would be sort of, have that kind of background to them, or curated style with, all that flair that goes into running a magazine like Southern Living, and
Sure.
being the editor there. And I think that really sets you guys apart in terms of what people can expect, because you want to eat healthy, but you also want variety and flavor and color, and for food to be, an enjoyable experience. Your family is, happy with the dinner that you've served as well, and that you can have peace of mind knowing that they're eating in a healthy way. What is it about Emeals you think that got kind of into the health space as opposed to, maybe other meal planning services?
Well, I mean, it was really driven by the needs of our subscribers. When when they ask for a product or a particular diet or food style, you start to pick up on. I mean, we see those trends in the marketplace, but we want to also validate that against the needs of our subscribers. So as they start asking for it, a few years back it was clean eating, it was paleo. We have on our team people that are actually category experts. So we have someone that knows clean eating from top to bottom, paleo from top to bottom. And so we are able to create plans that, again, that fit the parameters of those eating styles, but are still created for families. And the same thing happened with keto. We knew that keto was growing by leaps and bounds. We knew that our subscribers were asking for it. So we have a keto meal plan, and we have someone who eats keto that creates that. And so we are not only able to bring a level of category expert based on the food style or the diet, but again, meeting the needs of our subscribers who we know are mostly living in households where there are 4 to 6 people. So they want to eat a certain way, but they also want to feed their family. So that's kind of how we get into these more kind of health or wellness related food styles.
No, that's fantastic. I can tell you really care about your customer, and you're really thinking about what they
Well,
want.
it's all about the customer. I mean, you have to. That's why we do what we do. I mean, that's the relationship. You have to be meeting their needs. Otherwise, you don't have a business.
I agree. Now, for people who want to try out your service, I believe you offer like a free trial period
We do.
for new subscribers.
That's correct. Anyone can sign up for Emeals for free for 2 weeks. All they have to do is go to the website, which is emeals.com, and they can sign up for a free trial. You can download the app, again, whether you're on a iPhone or one of the Android platform phones, and immediately have access to your account and start using it right away. And I would encourage anyone who is trying it for the first time to try a few different food styles. Just give yourselves a chance to explore all of the various food styles and recipes that we have to offer. But yeah, it's 2 weeks for free.
That's great. And I think listeners to this show can go to emeals.com/keto
Perfect.
and take advantage of some great savings there. So I
Awesome.
really appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell us all about it. It's a fantastic service. And, I commend you for doing this and for providing options to, make being healthy and serving healthy food to busy families more accessible and budget friendly. So thanks for doing what you do.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate the kind words and good thoughts, and thanks for having me on.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to that interview with Scott Jones. I really love everything that they're doing at Emeals, and I think it's such a great, affordable service to get some excellent meal planning ideas every week that are really nicely curated by their team, and also just to have a meal planning service and delivery available and in a very budget-friendly way. So if you go to Emeals.com/keto, you should have the trial appear there, and you should also be able to use a coupon code, which is ketogenic, to get 30% off your annual subscription. So that's ketogenic, and the coupon or voucher code is at the bottom of the page there, and it might be applied automatically for you, but if it's not, you can enter in ketogenic and get 30% off trying out their service. But they have a 14-day money-back guarantee, and also the ability to switch to other plans if you want to do that, sort of if you're doing low carb for your whole family, that kind of thing. So be sure to go check them out at Emeals.com/keto. And until the next episode, I hope you have a fat-filled rest of your day. I would like to invite you to check out the 20-Day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. A lot of the things that we talked about on today's episode, I find are really solved by doing a ketogenic meal plan like the one that I designed, the 20-Day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. And a lot of that comes down to having someone already calculate everything for you, having the macros all dialed in for you, having this meal plan with all the portions already outlined for you. It really helps address a lot of the portion control issues, and having everything calculated already really helps with preparation and doing batch prep. A lot of people on the challenge will pick out a day, say on Saturday or Sunday, and they'll meal prep ahead for the week, and they'll pick 2 or 3 days from the plan that they love, and they'll repeat it, such as day 5, which has the burger with my special keto burger sauce, and repeat that. And you can do that as many times as you like, and it really makes preparation and following keto and the meal plans a lot easier, and doing that batch prepping and meal prep on the weekend. And the meal plans also come with a shopping list. They come with a full guide to testing yourself for ketosis. And the best part is they include my support and coaching in our members Facebook group, which is an awesome community. I love being in there, and it really helps so much having other people doing this program with you and alongside, and people who've done it already and successfully reached their goals there to inspire you and to support you. And having that community built in is so important. Our success rates go way, way up when we're doing any kind of diet or lifestyle change, when we have a buddy. And I'm here to be your buddy, to be your guide, and help you with your journey, because you can post any questions that you have about keto, about the meal plans, about low carb, and I am there to answer your questions and to support you as you go. And I just think it makes such a big difference to have a coach and a support group and a supportive community around you. So check out the 20-Day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. Just a word of caution, there is another 20-Day Keto Challenge that's being sold. It is not mine. I only sell my program from ketogenicgirl.com. So if you see a link to that, it's a copycat version that has kind of popped up in the last year. It also has a similar name, 20-Day Ketogenic Challenge. But if you are looking for my program, which comes with my support and coaching, you can only get it from ketogenicgirl.com, and make sure that you are purchasing the one from me, because I have some people who have purchased this other program thinking that it's my program, and the coaching and support is not included because it's not the program that I formulated and that has had so much success. If you want to read and check out some of the success stories, you can go to ketogenicgirl.com and click on testimonials and reviews or success stories, and you can read some of the dozens and dozens of success stories of people who have done the challenge. And if you join the program, you'll get to interact with so many of those people in the group who've had real success and are there to share tips and tricks for making all of this so much easier and so much fun. So check out the 20-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge at ketogenicgirl.com. And until the next episode, I hope you have a fat-fueled rest of your day. A few disclaimers. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice, as I am not a qualified healthcare provider. The information presented on this podcast is for educational purposes only. Ketogenic Girl is not qualified to provide medical advice. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to this podcast. Prior to beginning a ketogenic diet, you should undergo a full health screening with your physician to confirm that a keto diet is suitable for you and to rule out any conditions or contraindications that may pose risk or that are incompatible with the ketogenic diet. A keto diet may or may not be appropriate for you if you have any kind of health condition, whether known to you or unknown, so you must consult your physician to find this out. Anyone under the age of 18 should consult with their physician and their parents or legal guardian.